Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this PGA introductory webinar. My name is Michael Abbott, and I am the Member Education Executive here at the PGA. It is my pleasure today to introduce our speaker for this session, Karl Morris. Karl, are you there?
Yes, good morning, Michael. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well indeed.
Excellent. Well, just to give you all a little bit of background information about Karl, before setting up his own business in 2001, Karl was the Head of Business Development for the Royal Bank of Scotland. He left this role in 2001 to form KRL Consulting, and for the past 12 years, Karl and his associates have been delivering coaching and training to clients, including Barclays, EasyJet, and Formula One. Karl is also the founder and managing director of the Lee Westwood Golf School and the Darren Clark Golf School, and as an employer and manager of a number of PGA professionals, he is well placed to fully understand the challenges that face both employers and employees within the golf sector. Karl is here today to talk about his seminar, Customer Experience, How to Make the Difference, which is part of our member education program here at the PGA, and hopefully he can give us a better idea of what will be covered on that course. So Karl, over to you.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks very much for the introduction. Very nice indeed. Yes, for me, really, today's webinar is talking about the customer experience. This year and last year, I ran a number of seminars on essential business skills, which was looking at the basics of what we need to do to I guess, drum up new business, create new business, and manage the business that we've got and the business that we're bringing in. Really, this course that we're launching now about customer experience is really important and highly topical as to where the golf industry is right now. And I guess to put it into relative terms, for everyone's understanding, if we were to mention the words Ryanair, or the word Ryanair, we'd probably get an understanding of what customer experience isn't. And it's a very topical one with Ryanair. Here we are sitting here in the back end of 2013, and here's a company that's been doing very well at running a budget airline, but what it hasn't been doing very well at is looking after its customers and understanding its customers, to the point where recently there's actually been a customer revolt and a backlash where they've made the company make a change, almost said to the company, if you want us to continue buying your product and service, then you've got to listen to us. So I guess working from that backdrop, what I want to try and I guess get across to the golfing community on the seminars that I'm running is that let's not get to that position. Let's not get to the position where our customers have either left us, ignored us, or are actually banging on our door, screaming at us to make a change. Let's actually make that change for them up front. So customer experience, how to make the difference. It always sounds like a well-worn phrase, but essentially it isn't. Although customer experience is something that's always been there, we've always had customers, we've always had people buying and selling things. What the focus is really at the moment is certainly around the customer experience. And let me go on to explain a little bit more about that. Let's break it down into its three core components: product, process, and people. If you look at the golf industry, and it's something that I've been in now for 7 years, and I've enjoyed what I've seen and enjoyed what we've built and enjoyed what we've done. Product is everything in the golf industry, whether it be a club, whether it be a new set of clothing, a new set of spikes that's just come out, a brand new motorized trolley. Everyone focuses on that product. What is that product? What's the must-have for this year? What's the color to be seen with? What's the technology to happen? And the manufacturers are fantastic at launching their new products. And if we then strip that down to the golf pro at the local club, working with the clients, what is their product? And if you look at what's happened to industry's become very commodity based. And the supermarkets have done a good job at that over the last 15 years. Everything is a commodity, everything is buy one, get one free, everything is reduced in price. We're faced around us all the time with adverts showing us that one shop is better than another shop, and actually one shop can produce the same products for less than the other shop. And that's no different in the golf industry, and it's no different in any other industry. So it therefore makes sense as a golf pro that you start to think about your product and think, well, actually, if the guy down the road's a bit cheaper, perhaps I better be a bit cheaper. Or if the guy down the road's running a 45-minute lesson, perhaps I'd better run a 45-minute lesson. But actually, here's the key element here. What does your customer want? What product does your customer actually want? And what was interesting for me was I was lecturing at the PGA trade show this year, and one of the audiences I had, there was about 60 or so people in there, perhaps 70, and I asked the question, who has reached out to their client base within the last 3 to 6 months and asked their client base what they want? And the result was 3 sets of hands went up. And I would imagine that if we then expanded that across the population of golfers across the UK, the ratio would be much the same. When was the last time you actually said to your client base, what do you want? Because it's all well and good us saying, well, this is what you're going to get, but actually, is it what you want? And I think that, for me, has been one of the key elements. In our own business, in the Lee Westwood Golf business, what we did twice this year was went out to our client base and asked them, why do you come to our school? Why do you like our product? What is it about your products? And the results were fairly shocking for our staff, because we'd always based it around that the expectation was that everyone was going to rank golf as number one. Hence the industry we're in, hence the name on the front door. But actually, golf was ranked number 3. And it was really interesting for us that actually there were other factors in there: social interaction, camaraderie, brand experience. And that's no difference to a golf club, to a golf resort, to a PGA professional. Why do those clients come to you? And I talked about this last year when I was down at the trade show in 2012. I talked about this. Why do people go to golf clubs? And I think that's one of the key factors that's changed over the years. Why do people want that product? And what product do they want? And then we think about the process. Does the process, i.e. the goals of the business and the goals of the PGA professional, actually match the goals of your customers? And again, you're only going to find that out by asking them and running a survey. And really, for me, the process is the bringing together of the product and the people. How can we match those? How can we get the customers and the product and the service to match? I.e., how can we get the golfers to want to come to the golf club? How can we get the golfers to want to come to the PGA Pro and sit with them and have a lesson and find out what they're doing? And then, of course, the key element, as I always rattle on about, is the people involved. You, the PGA professionals, you, the assistant pros, you, the club managers, you, the people at reception, you, the greenkeepers. Start to think about, what does the customer want? Now, this is the biggest area, because this is the mind change. This is the mindset change. This is where we've got to actually change the way we think. And for those of you who were at my conference this year, I showed you that we can do that. We can actually change the way we think, if we want to. If we don't, then guess what? We carry on doing the same thing. We carry on getting the same results. And as Einstein called it, it's insanity. Because we expect different results. The market needs different results. And the big thing there is change. How do we change? How do we actually motivate and change our staff and our people and ourselves, most importantly? Because if we get those 3 elements to match, guess what? We've got what I call a winning system. The product, the process, and the people will all change and be more customer focused. So that session would be a lot more stretched out. We talk about how we're going to do that. We give some good skills and hints and tips and techniques on how we can best do that. Let's now have a look at the product. And there's a product that a high percentage of us have, own, have probably touched, have probably wanted, have probably desired. Our kids know how to use them probably better than we do. And the experience is in the product. Apple are masters at this. They're masters at doing this. That box that you can see on the screen there was engineered to open in a certain way. And for those of you that own an iPhone, and I'm now on my 3rd one, and I'm now a fan. I'm not a consumer anymore. I'm not just a customer. I'm a fan. I believe in the product. I go to their product first before I go to look at anyone else's product. And in the last 3 years, I haven't left that product. It's overpriced. There's better technology out there. There's better usability out there. There's actually better looking products out there. But I'm now a believer of Apple. I'm bought into their system. And I sit here today using an Apple Mac computer. I have an Apple iPhone, and that's the way you get bought into that. And for me, it's the attention to the detail, it's the usability, it's the feeling, the emotional attachment. Now let's think about that, emotional attachment. Not rational. I haven't worked out the best buy of a phone, because if I did, I'd probably go and buy another one, like a Samsung or something along those lines. As we see on these TV shows and witch guides, they actually show us that there's better value tablets out there, there's better value phones out there. But I bought emotionally. Everything I do is I bought emotionally. And if we look at us in life, we do buy emotionally. When we go and look at a house, we walk through the front door of that house and we get that feeling that's very difficult to write down on a piece of paper. And we look around and we think to ourselves and we talk to our family about that house and we say, yes, it's not the prettiest house, it's not probably in the best location, but there was just something about that house that made us feel comfortable and warm. And that's when we end up making the biggest purchase of our life and buying that house. If we were to buy rationally, then that would be a different kettle of fish altogether, because we'd start looking at all the boring, flat, rational factors that affect our purchases. Now, how do we do that in golf? Good question. And that's what we're going to investigate. How do we make it more emotionally attached? I go back to the slide before. The only way we're going to do that is to understand what our customers want, not what they're going to get, not what we're going to package up and sell them. We've got to understand what is it they want. And if you look at what we've done with our own brands, that's why we've had such phenomenal growth. We've grown over 30% year on year for the last 3 years in a row in one of the biggest global recessions. And since we started as a brand, we've had a growth of over 500%. Reason is we've always been customer focused. And there's that wonderful term there, customer centric. We've looked at our products and we've built them around what the customer wants. What really does the customer want? And this is, for me, a session that we'd have to really investigate and expand upon and look into, are we really doing it? Because we normally end up as human beings doing what we like the best and what we feel most comfortable doing. I go back to, again, the insanity clause. We keep doing the same things. Funnily enough, we get the same results. The other thing I'd like to talk about, and very briefly this morning, is again just to introduce some of these concepts that are inside customer experience. The rise of the community, the blur between the customer, the consumer, and the company. Well, again, it's just about understanding the link and allowing and engaging our clients to become part of what we do. The public sector has seen this as one of the biggest areas in the last 3 to 4 years, whereby if you look at the hospital industry, the hospital business, they've actually looked at what clients need and looked at what clients want, and they've re-engineered and remapped. The NHS have been hugely doing this, spent millions on it, and probably we'll all agree we haven't quite got it right yet, but they completely remapped the way they do business, i.e. the way they look after our health, because that's what the clients want. If you take a massive success story like Bupa, who have grown phenomenally across a number of countries, again, they've done the same thing. They've created products that the clients want, not created products and just said that's what we're selling, take it or leave it. The other one there is, of course, peers, the value of peer feedback. A classic example there is TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor was designed as a way of reviewing a holiday. What it's now become is a way of choosing your holiday. And there's a subtle difference there. A lot of people now will go to TripAdvisor, myself included. If we're thinking of going to a certain place we haven't been before, we'll go to TripAdvisor first, we'll look at the reviews, we'll look at all the feedback, then we'll book the hotel. Not we'll book a hotel and then afterwards think, oh, I wonder what the reviews were like. So TripAdvisor has now become a guiding light almost. It's the thing that helps you book the hotel, not the other way around. So of course the industry now has said, right, we need to be good to TripAdvisor, we need to get a good rating on TripAdvisor, and it's been a win-win because of course customers get a better service, because the hotels are trying harder to make sure the customers write a better review. There's also been a huge rise in peer-to-peer lending, and you see now community lending groups are growing and funding projects. And there's been some huge successful projects, especially out of America, whereby community lending has got together, people have pulled the money together themselves, bypassed the whole banking system, and actually developed new products and new services. Heritage as well. Are we telling enough of a story? We've all got a great story to tell. And when I talk to PGA pros and when I look at results and when I talk to these guys that are running their businesses, they don't build enough on the heritage and the history of what's actually there. You know, it's important that we do that. We've got a wonderful country in the UK. You know, if you look at the collection of countries in the UK, we've got hundreds of years of history. And if we look at the results we're at, the locations we're at, the facilities we're at, build on that history, whether it's a community-based project or whether it's been started by an individual or whether it was a couple of inspirational things that have gone on there, tell the world what's happening. And then finally, co-creation. And we had a wonderful example of this ourselves, where really you're using your customers, and I use the word using in its loosest, nicest sense, you're using your customers to create together. And we launched the Lee Westwood Golf Tour last year, and one of the key things we wanted was a grand final and a grand prize. So we ran a competition to design a belt buckle. We then basically got a member of the public who developed the winning design. We then sent that design out to the Drew Belts. Drew Belts, who, as you know, supply a number of belts to the tour and most professional golfers. Drew Belts then created from scratch that design and actually then built the belt. And what was fantastic was the winner of the design got to see his belt design given away to the winning member of the tour this October when the tour final happened. So again, the buy-in from our customer base has been huge. So again, why don't you do that? You know, why not use volunteers? Why not get members of the clubs to help you? Why not get influential people in your business to actually help you do that? Don't be scared of and afraid of, you know, actually getting your clients involved in your business, because in actual fact, the more you get buy-in from them, then of course the more likelihood is that they're going to actually use your product or service more. So as you can see, that I go onto this slide here on a Q&A slide, but as you can see, I mean, that's 3 slides, and already we're diving in quite deep into this concept of customer experience. It's a day-long training program that I've written and pulled together. It's very much aimed at everyone in a club or a professional on their own at a facility. It really will make you start to think about the service and the product and the process that you're currently delivering. And I go back to this slide here, product, process, people. Think about the product and service that you've got, think about the process of delivery, and then think about the customer, i.e. the end user, the people. Because guess what, if we get those 3 items slightly better, then we will see an increase in business, an increase in retention of customers, which is what we want to see, because of course that will end up with better revenue. So that's the insight into a very sort of brief insight into the program, Michael. I hope you found that of interest.
Yeah, thanks, Karl. That was great, and definitely kind of confirms what the offer is to PGA professionals and really why pros should look to attend your course. And I've actually got a few questions, if that's okay.
Sure, no, absolutely.
Brilliant. Just out of curiosity, why is customer experience now having such a big impact in the industry? I mean, as you said before, it's nothing new. Why is all of a sudden the people starting to pay more attention to the customer experience, and why should golf businesses and clubs around the world, you know, really look at what their customer experience is?
It's a very good question, actually, Michael. It's a very good question. You're right, customer experience has always been there. We've always been buying things. We've always been selling things. We've always had customers. From the very first trading that went on, there's always a person that ends up spending some form of commodity to buy another commodity. I think if you look at what's happened in industry over the last 5 to 10 years, especially with the internet revolution, especially with the digital age that we live in now, the customer has moved on. The customer has evolved. What concerns me the most in the golf industry is we don't seem to be embracing the fact that the customer has evolved. Why do we expect that a guy or a girl that's come to have golf lessons with us that might be working in a very modernized company that has a huge customer experience program running, that when they come to us at the golf club for their lesson, we take it right back to basics? Customer experience is there. It's all about you know, understanding the market that we're in and understanding the customer base that we have. And I do get the feeling that the golf industry has been very, very, very slow to react to the customer base. We seem to keep delivering the same product, the same service, and expecting the client base to actually accept that. And I don't think the client base is accept that. And if you look at the figures that are coming across the industry, across 2012, 2013, the figures are showing that actually, you know, we're having an erosion of our marketplace. We're having an erosion of members at clubs. We're having an erosion of numbers of clubs actually in operation. Numbers are down. And what we've got to try and do is embrace and change. And it's all about understanding what the customer wants. Supermarkets, as I said, I mentioned them earlier. You know, supermarkets have changed the way that people shop, but in such a way that we feel that we're the people that have changed the way they shop. And actually, when we go to supermarkets now, we end up getting exactly what we want because the supermarkets have listened. It's a bit like the chicken and egg scenario. You know, the supermarkets have listened to what the customer wants, have made the changes, and then funnily enough, the customers now feel more friendly. And some people prefer to shop at Sainsbury's, some people prefer to shop at Waitrose, and some people prefer to go down to Aldi because they know what they're getting. I go back to the Ryanair experience. You know, Ryanair took no time to think about the client, and now they're suffering. Whereas other airlines have spent a lot of time around the customer, a lot of time, especially a lot of the Asian airlines. And in fact, there's a lot of American airlines at the moment rebranding themselves to keep on about the customer, how we can make you feel better. Anyone that's seen a National Express bus going up and down the motorways recently will see their big advertising campaign about love driving with, you know, love being on our coaches, love the feeling of being on our coaches. It's all about the customer. It's customer focused, and that's the big change. And I go back to, Michael, I think the golf industry is not being quick enough to make this change. We've got to think about the emotional side of buying. Why does a client want to come to us? What do they get out of that time they spend with us? Because it's expensive. They've got to drive to a club. They've got to buy some equipment. They're going to spend time with us. What's that emotional attachment?
Yeah, and presumably then this also links into, you know, you say that the customer's evolved. Is it partly the customer's evolved because, you know, technology has evolved, like you say, and, you know, the experience of just going to book online for a course is not about, you know, your course isn't purely about the experience someone gets once they're at your facility. It's about the entire customer experience in terms of, you know, just trying to find basic information out on the website or what the course has to offer.
Absolutely, and it's a bit like you know, online golf lessons, isn't it? You know, improve your swing online. It's emotional attachment. The industry is a people industry. It wants to attach itself. People come for different reasons. Every single person coming to that golf club, yes, of course they're centered around golf, but they're coming there for different reasons. Some people might be coming just to get out of work for an hour. Some people might be coming because they just want to get away from home for an hour. Other people are coming because they've got a company competition coming up. You know, there was a classic discussion I was having the other day with a financial director of a very, very large company here in the northwest of England, and you know, he came to us because he had a huge corporate day coming up. What was he really, really into his golf? Probably not, dare I say, but he needed help because he wanted to turn up at that corporate day and be better and play better and interact better and around his peers, wanted to be seen to be better. And it's understanding the client, and we don't understand the clients enough in the golf industry. We keep just serving up the same stuff time and time again.
That's great. Thank you, Karl. Cheers. Just on a slightly different point then, just to confirm, I think there's probably, usually when people see the term customer experience, they always have a tendency to think about, you know, that's more related to the 5-star experience, but that really isn't the case, is it? And this course isn't about people who work at, you know, your really high-end resorts. It's about the customer experience. No matter what you do or where you work, it's about that experience. It's not, you know, do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, again, another good point, Michael. I mean, it's the underlying message is the same. It doesn't matter if you're at the top 5-star resort with, you know, lots of driving ranges and beautiful facilities and hotel and everything, or whether you're in a driving range with the rain beating down on the roof. It's exactly the same principle. It's about the emotional attachment of your customer, and it's about the experience that customer gets, because it's all relative, whether the customer's coming to pay £20 to hit some balls out of a driving range, or whether they're paying considerably more to go to the hotel for the day and have lunch It's the same concept. It's the experience of that customer. It's the feeling they get and the emotional attachment they have to your product or service, which means, guess what? They'll come back more often. And guess what? They'll tell all their friends, and then their friends will come, and then suddenly you will be deluged with customers that want to come to you because they feel that you understand them. And it's all about customer focus, not focusing on ourselves, not thinking about, or what's the latest tip or technique I'm going to give them on golf, or what's the latest swing analysis they want to hear. It's finding out what they want. Why do they want to be there? And again, I go back to when we surveyed our own customers, it was amazing what we found. It shocked some of the staff that worked for me. You know, they suddenly saw that the key element that they thought they were getting the message across was ranked number 3. And actually there were other elements higher up. You know, and you look at some of these results, it could be as anything from ease of parking through to, you know, whether they serve the tea that I like.
Yep. Brilliant. Well, Karl, thank you very much for spending some time with us today. On behalf of all PJ members who are going to view this, it's been much appreciated, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you here for a seminar in the future. For PJ members that are watching this recorded webinar, if you do want to see Karl in action, don't forget to go onto the Member Education homepage and register your interest for this seminar. If you're watching this on YouTube, there is a link in the About section below, so just click on that and you'll be redirected to our website where you can learn more about the course and book on or register for the course. Karl, is there anything else which you'd like to add?
No, not at all, Michael. I've really enjoyed that this morning. What I would say is, look, you know, I've met a lot of PGA pros out there on the various shows and events that I've done. This is very relevant. It will help you develop your business. It will help you keep your customers, attract new customers, and in turn it will help you secure your revenue. I've done it with my own business. I can do it with your business. So, you know, come along to the course and let's work together.
Excellent. Karl, thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.